Get connected, Fitchburg. Sign up for Fitchburg Connect, the city's monthly e-newsletter that keeps you informed about all the events, services, and updates that matter to you. Get it in your inbox once a month. Sign up today to get Fitchburg Connect.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Unofficially, our meeting to order at 4. We can call it officially. Oh, there's Olivia. We have a quorum. Hi, Olivia. Okay, now we can officially call the meeting to order at 4:04 of the Housing Advisory Committee. Why don't we do roll call, Lorraine? Can we do that?
Gabriella? Here. Mallory?
Here.
Brian? And Olivia?
She waved. She's waving. She's here.
Marshall?
Here. Here.
Okay. All right, we have a quorum. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Our next agenda item is approval of the minutes as it relates to March 2nd, 2026. Do I have a motion to, actually, do we need to discuss anything? Are there any corrections with regard to the minutes? No?
I move we approve.
I move we approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Oh, you got that.
I got this one on. There we go. We'll get the right mic going. Okay. Next agenda item. Do we have any public appearances for non-agenda items? I don't see anybody online. Nobody? Okay. So we're going to move on to agenda item number 5. We do not have any resolutions or ordinances to consider. So then we are going to move on to agenda item number 6, which I need my glasses for. We have Paul Schechter. Did I pronounce your name correctly? Perfect. You are the Executive Director for Sunnyside Development, and you are here for a presentation today. I did a little research on you and did looking at the project that you did in Stoughton. That was very impressive. So why don't you go ahead with your presentation and tell us what you're going to be doing in the city of Fitchburg and how that might compare to the project in Stoughton.
Okay. Well, I'm very happy to be here. Nice to meet all of you. Just for a point of process, Lorraine contacted me, we met maybe a year ago, and asked me if I would speak about a 16-unit that we just purchased on Greenway Cross. And I'm happy to do so. I'm happy to make it conversational and answer questions. I don't have a formal presentation or PowerPoint created. But to give you a little background, Sunnyside Development was founded in 2018. It's a 501c3 nonprofit with a mission of creating affordable, sustainable housing in southern Wisconsin. And our biggest project to date is the one you just referenced, Stoughton's public housing called Greenspire Apartments. They were built in the 70s and 80s. There's 92 units, and we're happy to report that it is the first tax credit project in Wisconsin to also be 100% net zero, or at least all signs point to that. We're about halfway through the full year of reporting needed to get that certification. But yeah, tickled pink about it. It's absolutely massive solar array and everything else that you can think of to make it green, heat pumps, insulation, triple pane windows, so forth and so on. We've had several other smaller projects that haven't quite met that net zero, but have gotten close, like 60, 70, 80%. And this is our first property. All the previous ones, we were only the developer on. This one, we're the developer and the owner, so it's a first in that regard. And the sources of the project are $1.39 million from Old National Bank, and that's hard debt. $1.2 million from Dane County, which is effectively a grant. They structure it as a loan, but it's no payments and no interest. And then $1 million of outside money from the Federal Home Loan Bank of Indianapolis, also as a grant. It's part of the Affordable Housing Program, AHP for short. So all told, the total development cost is $3.59 million, and about 2/3 of that has already been spent on the acquisition, which happened March 31st, about 2 weeks ago. So we just closed, and I've had the honor to meet most of the residents in person. I'm going to meet another one after this meeting tonight. Lots of great people. A lot of them have expressed a lot of enthusiasm that we purchased the property. They were frightened that had it sold to an outside investor, and there were many looking to purchase it, that their rents would have increased significantly. And that was a valid assumption and worry, because had it sold, as I mentioned, 2/3 of the money that we received was no interest, no payments grants. So we have no need or anticipation of raising rents. But had it been sold to a cash investor, they absolutely would have had to, upwards of 50% increases. So one aspect of this project is kind of an anti-gentrification project to allow people who have lived there for many years and who are blue-collar workers not making a ton of money to stay there. So I suppose that's good for opening remarks. I could go into more details of what we intend to do with the property, but as I said in the beginning, this can be more conversational. So if there's any questions off the bat, I'd be happy to field them. Sure.
Is this formally a low-income project, or was it just naturally low-income because of its age? This is, I understand, an acquisition rehab. Don't know the age of the building that you just purchased?
I think it was built in the 70s.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on that. And yes, it's absolutely an affordable housing project in alignment with our mission and with the requirements of the grants.
Was it previously? Did it
No,
previously have tax
it
rates?
was
just naturally, because of its age, had more affordable rents.
Yes, to a certain extent. It has undergone different ownership multiple times in the last 5 years. So I think there has been an each sale sort of increase in price. So the rents are reasonably affordable.
Okay. And you said there's 16 units?
Yes,
And,
8 one-bedrooms and 8 two-bedrooms.
Okay. And the longest tenant?
That has lived there the longest.
Longest term, well, your tenancy of?
They don't
know?
tell me that information.
Oh, they don't
Yes.
have that information?
No,
Okay.
all I got was the leases.
Okay. And do you have a relocation plan for while you're rehabbing each one's units?
Well, we're not planning to do, we had a proper building inspection, and the property's in fairly good shape. The only items called out on the inspection were things like you need a GFCI outlet near this water source and things like that. So we're not, this is separate from a LIHTC development, low-income housing tax credit, and those almost invariably are gut rehabs through and through, regardless if they need them. And projects that do require that, like for example, Stoughton Greenspire, they needed a full rehab, great. But projects that don't, I think it's a waste of money. I think oftentimes LIHTC deals, they'll replace a roof was installed 2 years previous.
Oh.
Because in order to do a LIHTC deal, you have to satisfy a big bank investor, and they need everything to be as risk-free as possible. So everything has to be brand spanking new. There's a different subset of affordable housing called missing middle, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, which is typically too small to be eligible for LIHTC, and therefore doesn't involve an out-of-state big bank investor. And really the only covenants required are that are the things that the grant institutes require, the affordability, or if you're making units available to homeless folks and things like that. You don't have to do a gut rehab and everything. And we're not. We're doing sustainability improvements for sure, and we're doing all the things that the inspection report said should be updated.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I can go into further details on that if you'd like, unless there's other questions off the top.
Well, sure. Please go into more detail. I have a question. Will
Sure.
you manage the property after you're done rehabbing it?
We won't manage it personally. We're hiring Sue Brohan from Brohan Management and
Who
Consulting.
manages your other property? Or who managed the one in Stoughton?
Yep, she manages that, and she manages another one we did in Edgerton. And just pure coincidence, she happened to manage this property many moons
Beforehand.
ago, a couple decades ago.
Okay.
Then it changed ownership, and but full circle, she's back.
And how long is the rehab process for you?
So our rehab will not involve tenant displacement, and we anticipate to finish everything by the end of this year. So, 8 months or so. But the primary scope is we're upgrading the HVAC system to air source heat pumps. We're adding insulation and doing a building envelope, tightening it up to stop air leaks, and doing solar installation. So it's pretty simple in scope, no floor plan changes. It's still going to be 8 one-bedrooms, 8 two-bedrooms. That's the extent of, and hoping to get probably around 90% net zero. It might not be 100%, but we're going to get as close as we can.
Any other questions? Olivia?
Yeah, I just want to congratulate Paul Schechter and Sunnyside Development on this project. I think it's a fantastic project, and that you're doing it without, that you're doing it on your own and not requiring, municipal partnership. I think is really says a lot. And the fact that it's a sustainability and affordability combined in one project, I think that's sort of like a trifecta. So I just want to congratulate you on that. Could you talk a little bit about how the units in terms of like AMI and how many units are at what level of AMI?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. So pretty much any project that gets AHP funding, which again is Affordable Housing Program from the Federal Home Loan Banks, needs to have 60% of their units at 50% AMI or less. And 50% in layman's terms is considered very low income, but not extremely low income. So we are doing that. We're also keeping 4 of the units at unrestricted. I won't say market rate because I don't know if we'll go all the way up to market rate, but there won't be any restrictions. And that actually is by design. It was a point scoring feature for Indianapolis. Because this is an opportunity zone, they want a diversity of incomes. So we're doing that as well. And then our third source, Dane County, as you probably know, is very keen on ending homelessness. So we are reserving 2 units for homeless vets and working with the Veterans Memorial Hospital of, I think in Middleton. And we have couple of applications already and one that has already been approved. I'll be moving in May 1st.
So you said it was in an opportunity zone, but you're not using any investment through the opportunity zone program.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Correct. It's just a moniker to...
It's a census tract.
Right. And Indianapolis happened to have a point scoring opportunity if your project happens to be an opportunity zone.
So will the rents be variable based on the different groups within, or is it?
No, we'll probably keep them all around the 50% AMI level. We could go higher with the market rate ones, but right around 1,100, 1,200 or so, which is more or less what they're at currently, is what we'll keep them at.
What kind of funding support or rent support do you have for the two vet units?
It's called VASH. It's the VA supportive housing. It's those vouchers. Yep. Yes. They come with the, I don't know if they're not project-based, they're tenant-based, so they come with the tenants.
Comes with a tenant, okay.
But I met the first gentleman a few days ago, and he's overjoyed to have housing, so we're happy to provide it.
Paul, it's really wonderful, this program. I'm really excited. I have a question about the Veterans Memorial Hospital. So do they provide supportive services then for the veterans?
They do. Yep. So they're a local branch of a federal program, the VA, and along with a requirement of the VASH voucher system is the supportive services. So they meet with, don't quote me on this exactly, but I believe they meet with their tenants that they support initially weekly, and then as they get stabilized, that drops down to monthly, and they meet at their unit to see how it's going there, which I can appreciate, and do everything needed to keep them happy and stable, and keep the neighbors stable and the residents in a copacetic working environment. So this was actually a strong requirement of the county before they provided the grant funding, was to make sure that we were partnering with an well-established organization that knows what they're doing, that's done this many times before, and they have. And their only difficulty really is finding the housing. They're pretty good at what they do once they have the housing established.
Yeah, Gabriella.
This is outstanding. Thank you
good.
so much for investing in Fitchburg. We're really grateful for this, and I'm really happy to learn about Sunnyside Development and all the work that you're doing. I love that the sustainability upgrades are a key part of this. Do the residents currently pay their utility bills?
They do.
Okay.
Yes.
And will they continue to pay them?
They will.
Okay.
It's important that accountability feature is in there, but they will likely be reduced from all the sustainability upgrades.
That's outstanding. I know that helps a lot, and we've been investing in sustainability upgrades for rentals across the city, just because of how much of it impacts cost of living for residents.
Sure. One fun part of sustainability, which wasn't at least budgeted in our development pro forma, but you can learn all about if you go to our website, sunnysidedevelopment.org, on the homepage is a 5 or 6 minute video about the Greenspire project. And that has 6 acres of land, much of it turf grass, with a lot of erosion and runoff. And so we hired a group called Permaculture Works Cooperative that came in, and they did all kinds of wonderful things, bioswales, rainwater harvesting, perennials, raised bed gardens, and really transformed most of that turf grass into multiple things. Activities for the residents, like the raised bed gardens to keep the seniors busy, those who want to participate, and also ways to improve, stormwater, dealing with that, and erosion and runoff. And there's not nearly as much grass, but there's certainly a fair amount at this site. So we want to beautify it and make it more than just, something, a chore to mow the lawn, but have perennial plants and rain gardens. Those are depressions in the earth that have perennials that love rainwater. So it naturally sinks in instead of creating more of a chore for the wastewater treatment plant. And so we're hopefully going to do that as well, although it's not part of the original scope. It's just our ethos.
And that's 6 acres, that's the Stoughton project?
Correct.
And
That's not this one.
What did you say that was called?
It's called Greenspire Apartments. And if you want to see a visual of all the permaculture improvements, watch the video on our...
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
That video
cool.
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was very impressed by that. Also, the solar array that you have
Yes.
on the buildings as well as the
As the parking lot.
carports. So this was an acquisition rehab light tech project that someone else...
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like all light tech projects in that it does officially change ownership, but it's a temporary thing. It's done to allow the tax structure to go through. So it's 99.9% owned by an investment bank. Technically, Sunnyside is a 0.15% owner of that, but we won't be after the 15-year compliance period is finished. Then it'll go back to the Housing Authority. But for this project, there's no outside investor. We're the 100% owner, and we plan to stay that way. So we won't be flipping it to anyone.
So when you say it's going to be permanently affordable, how is it made permanently affordable?
We signed a land use restriction agreement with the county, and we had the choice of doing 40 years in exchange for the loan being forgivable. Or sorry, I forgot what the 40 years is not forgivable. There would be repayments or permanent. And if you do it permanent, then it is forgivable. And we chose the latter, permanent affordable. And that sticks to the property regardless of ownership. It's the senior position of the recorded documents, and as far as I know, can't be usurped.
Okay.
It's technically a 99-year one, but practically speaking, that's permanent.
All right.
Do you anticipate needing at some point down the line in the future influx of donations in order to maintain that affordability, or do you think it's self-sustaining?
I don't think so. We made sure to do the financial model such that, and that everything, the bills can be paid. But there is a lot of safeguards put in place. For example, Indianapolis required us to set aside 4 months of operating costs in reserves that can't be touched unless there's a major, like a new roof that's required. Also, we had to submit the capital needs assessment to them for their review and then include in the project budget enough money to fix anything that was needed repair. So it's on pretty good footing, and less any catastrophic things, shouldn't need a ton of capital infusion as the years go on.
It's outstanding.
So.
Does anyone else have any questions? No?
Paul, is there anything that the Housing Advisory Committee can do to support you in any way?
Well, I mean, I hope this is the beginning of a good relationship, and we would love to do more work in Fitchburg if there's interest, mutual interest. I know I've heard that you're getting started or preparing to release your own RFP for affordable housing. And, you know, we'd be honored to learn about it and potentially apply. The other aspect that is almost more difficult than the money is what's called site control. And so, for example, this property was listed on the open market, and we had to wheel and deal in order to get it under contract for the almost full year needed to get the grants approved. And that's difficult when you're competing with buyers that could buy it within 30 days. So finding properties that have sellers that are more flexible, or maybe it's city-owned or land banking or something like that, is always needed for developers like myself. Because one of the biggest challenges is just keeping the property off the market for such a long time for the grants, because I can't promise that we'll actually buy it. If the grants don't come through, then we can't. And that's a sore spot for sellers, unless they're aligned, with us. So.
True.
How did you actually keep it off the market? Did you have to give them money sort of as a, I don't know.
We had
Yeah. How
to
did,
give quite a bit of earnest money, $55,000, which is higher than most. We also went higher than the asking price. I found out, so we bought it for $2.45 million. And I think it was listed at 2.3. So that's a pretty substantial increase. But I found out at the closing table that they had another offer on it for 2.375. So 75,000 above. We were 150,000 above. And then that they had a lot of interest, and if ours didn't go through, they were actually considering relisting it for 2.5 million. So we actually weren't that much higher than the market anyway.
so would, if you had had the money right away, would you have had to pay that premium, or could you have just made the deal at that price, asking price?
We absolutely could have. We would not have needed to make that premium. That being said, it's more of an art than a science. You got to read the tea leaves of how much interest there is and so forth. And for a property like this in good shape, multifamily housing in Dane County, they typically go for at least the list price, if not higher. So sometimes you just have to do that anyway, because your competitors will, and you won't get the deal. But you wouldn't have to go as high as we did above. And the other aspect is, so we don't have coffers that can go that deep, right? We don't have 2.45 million in cash just sitting in the bank waiting for some kind of deal. So in order to receive the blessings for that money on a short turnaround time, one would have to apply in advance, most likely, and get what's called a license to hunt application, which both the city and City of Madison and Dane County now offer for missing middle deals, not for light tech deals. But the general idea is you apply for a type of property in a certain neighborhood without actually knowing which one it's going to be or which physical address. And then you still have to do all the, various meetings and applications and say what you're going to do hypothetically with this property. And then you're approved. And then it's a lot easier to fast track the closing after you have site control. Typically not 30 days, but 60 days is reasonable. But only if you have that license to hunt approval ahead of time. And
So you get the license to hunt approval before you actually identify a site? So it's just an area?
We identify a general neighborhood.
And then,
Like we did that, for example, for our Zapata Cooperative, which is a co-op for where Spanish is the first language spoken. And we didn't know where it was going to be exactly, but the City of Madison approved, I think it was $451,000 to go hunt, so to speak, and we did. And I think 3 of our offers we were outbid. And by the way, we can be a little bit less competitive in that environment because it doesn't matter if you can continue looking. You don't need to gain 12 months of site control. But our fourth was successful, and we then closed, I think, 45 days later, because we were able to line up all the financing ahead of time.
So tell me again what the total cost of acquisition and updates to
The
this.
total development cost
Yeah,
for
total cost, please.
Greenway Cross,
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
point.
No, for the one in Fitchburg.
That's Greenway Cross, the 16 unit.
Oh, I'm getting it confused
We
with
have
Green
lots of
Spire.
greens. There's also Green
Green,
Spire.
yeah, green,
Yes,
you go on green.
right.
Okay.
Maybe it's
Very
serendipitous.
much, yeah.
With our mission. So total development cost for the 16 unit in Fitchburg is $3.59 million. That's acquisition and rehab
And I'm just
and all soft
I'm trying to
costs,
do the numbers.
reserves.
And then that's divided by 16 units. So that's 224,000 a unit. But you're getting to net zero, close to net zero, and
Yeah, that's actually,
14, and at least 12 of those are affordable.
right. 224 per unit. That includes two 30% AMI units for homeless. That is probably 90% plus net zero, and is 100% permanently affordable. Not 100%, but permanently affordable. That's money well spent. There is,
Yeah, 14 or 12 units that are affordable permanently. Yeah. Net zero. That's
and the
that's-
homeless
yeah.
set aside and so forth. To put it in perspective, there's projects that are north of $300,000 per unit with a fraction of those amenities. So it's,
Yeah.
especially in Dane County where prices are
Yeah,
higher.
the LIHTC projects, right? What are the LIHTC projects? The average, cost of a LIHTC project for a 60%
Well, that would be a
unit?
question for Kurt Paulson. I don't have all those stats at my fingertips, but I do know that it's expensive. I know that WIDA's
Yeah.
max is now over 400,000 per unit, I believe. So another
Insane.
reason that the price per unit is less is because we don't have the literally massive amount of bureaucracy and red tape involved in a LIHTC deal. There's, dozens of lawyers. Closing takes at least 4 months of back and forth daily emails. So and everyone is paid a lot of money for that, which the project
Yeah.
had to absorb. So if you can keep it simple and keep your sources just direct, not tax credits, it saves money.
What other projects?
This is a question.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go.
I'm just curious,
No, go.
the Stoughton project, what were the specs on that? Like what were the type of units? Did you build it from the ground up, or was it a rehab?
No, that's a rehab as well. 92 total units. The property needed work. The CNA, capital needs assessment, was long. It was also a very inefficient property. All the heating was electric resistive. It was built before there was natural gas in that area because it was rural at the time. Madison has expanded, so it's not anymore. And it is public housing, so it is mainly for extremely low-income folks, 30% AMI or less. There's lots of covenants on it, but I believe it's the rural development, the part of the branch of the USDA that requires it to be senior, so 62 plus or disabled, and then it also gets Section 8 from HUD. So it's what is called preservation, meaning preservation of existing affordable in the HUD sense, not in the NOAA sense, the naturally occurring affordable housing. This already had subsidies and so forth, but those were just operations. They did not in any way help with the infrastructure. So it needed a lot of help. And coincidentally, it happened to coincide right with the Inflation Reduction Act passage, and which had a carve out of that called the Green and Resilient Retrofit Program, GRRP. And that was essentially an experiment. It was, okay, scientists say we got to go 100% net zero whole country by 2050. How do we try that out somewhere? And what better place than public housing? So they were particularly looking for public housing that also had LIHTC, because that meant it was going to do a lot of rehab anyway. And if you're going to replace all the windows, you might as well just do the incremental increase. So instead of just standard, you do, triple pane, and that double dips. You get efficiencies that way. You don't pay all the costs. And so we applied, and I think we were the first in the country to get the leading edge cohort of GRRP. And there were a few others that made it through, and then the whole thing got canceled with the next administration. So we were fortunate to get all the way through and finish, and I think we were also the first one to finish in the country. And the only thing left is actually getting that sustainability certificate, which is a requirement of GRRP. But it takes 12 months to show that you are truly net zero.
And then what other projects have you worked on other than the Stoughton project?
Sure. So another senior housing one in Edgerton, 24 units. Similar in terms of air source heat pumps and a large solar array, but not quite the same in-depth as Stoughton with the sustainability upgrades. And then another aspect that is near and dear to me personally and to those on our board, we have a board of 7, is just community empowerment and allowing residents to be more of decision makers. So, and it's just an elegant model, I think, and that's cooperative housing. And in particular, non-equity co-op housing. So what that means is that you establish ownership as a legal entity that doesn't live or die, it's just a piece of paper. And then the entity that governs that are the people who live there. And the reason that's elegant is the biggest rent hikes occur typically when there's a sale, especially if it's a mom and pop landlord that isn't necessarily trying to squeeze their tenants for the biggest possible profits. They might increase rents, $20, $30 a year, along with their costs, which often does not track with the actual rent increases that the rest of society is seeing. But they're mortal. They will grow up and die eventually. And when it sells, it always sells for fair market value. And if it doesn't, the flipper is just going to flip it to fair market value. So if it sells at that, then you got to pay the debt service on whatever that cost was. And in order to do that, the only way to pay that is by increasing rents. And we have gotten calls from just average people that say, hey, I see a for sale sign outside of my apartment. I looked it up, I did the math, and my rent has to go up 50% in order for the new buyer to actually be able to pay their bills because they got to get a big mortgage and they have to pay that somehow, and they're not going to take a loss, so they have to increase the rents to do it. So there's a long way of saying that if you have cooperative ownership that stays the owner in perpetuity, then you don't have that buy-sell thing, which is the main driver of not being affordable. And to put some numbers on it, I think there's 23 co-ops in Madison. The average age is about 55 years old. The original residents are all long since moved out, but the rents are still at roughly 30 to 40% AMI, without any kind of government subsidies or anything like that, because why would they charge themselves more than the light bill? And they paid the mortgage ages ago. So it's kind of a neat way of doing affordable housing. And we are on our third co-op right now. First one was on Jennifer Street, and then Zapata, which is kind of an immigrants co-op, where Spanish is the primary language spoken. And then the third is on Mary Street on the east side of Madison. So, yeah, that's our projects. Mm-hmm.
Olivia, did you have another question?
I think I forgot my other question, but do you actually create co-ops or do you buy them and rehab them?
So we've created 2 out of the 3. The third one was the one on Mary Street called Red Pine Co-op, which I don't even know if it's on our website yet. That has been a FOOP for 40 years, and that means a fake co-op, FOOP. In the early 80s, the owner at the time, which was Commonwealth Development, needed to sell. And 2 of the residents wanted to preserve the co-op, so they went in and bought it together. And then a few years later, one of the residents wanted to get out, so he sold his portion to the other guy, Chris, who's been there for 30 plus years. And Chris is now in his mid-70s, has some health issues, and they had no real legacy plans. So I approached them a few years ago and I said, have you thought about transferring ownership to the actual co-op itself? And that way it could remain that way in perpetuity. And they hadn't thought about it, and it took a lot of discussion, negotiation, but we eventually got there, and we applied for money from the city, and they helped, and Chris graciously sold it for only $410,000, even though it's probably worth double that. It's like on a three parcel lot, and it abuts the Yahara River. And there was tons of interest from the open market in buying it, some of whom we had to fend off, who tried to torpedo this deal because they wanted to buy it themselves. But eventually we got it through, and now it's not owned by a human, it's owned by a co-op, and will stay that way for 1,000 years, potentially, with the people who move in being the decision makers, which is more responsibility for them, of course, and it's not a cakewalk. It's not like being a tenant and being waited on, but you do get the benefit of calling your own shots. And there's a lot of help too. There's various institutions and conferences and so forth that help, especially upstart co-ops.
But Sunnyside is the one who purchased it, so, but
No.
you're not going to manage it.
No, we just facilitated the deal. We didn't purchase, we don't own it. The only property we own is the 16 unit in Fitchburg. It's owned by the co-op now.
So you like, a lot of your projects are built or rehab and then let them live their own lives.
For the co-ops, yes. For Edgerton, that was owned by a nonprofit already, and we were just asked to facilitate, so we did, and we got money through so they could do the rehab that was needed. And then for Stoughton, that was a LIHTC deal, so it had to be done in a certain way with the ownership and so forth. But the only way that the housing authority would allow that is if it came full circle back to them after year 15. So they'll buy it for $1 plus assume the debt on it once the compliance period is over. So yeah, there's
Now I
different
remember the
ownership
question.
structures.
Do any of the funds that we have for Fitchburg, would that allow for the purchase and acquisition or acquisition rehab of older housing stock? in Fitchburg for missing middle housing.
Are you asking me?
I think she's asking us,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So one of the buckets is land
Yeah.
banking and acquisition. So acquisition, I guess, would fall into that.
It's a good point you made, though, about the needing the time to get the grant funding, and that it's an interesting, we talk a lot about this funding. Obviously, we're not going to be able to recoup all of the funding, but we want some of the funding to be able to come back to the fund in different mechanisms. And if we were able to require a property temporarily, it seems like something that could be on the table, especially when there's a unique opportunity where there's this affordable housing that just needs rehab, and rather letting it go to the open market.
Yep, and the city of
Find a
Madison
way.
has done that several times.
Which one?
The city of Madison.
Madison?
Yep, they'll buy a property just to get it off the market.
Yeah.
And then deal with it later. Put an RFP out. Great.
Well, thanks very much for coming, Paul.
Of course, my pleasure.
Very informative. I encourage everybody to look at the website. The video is really great. And Greenville, is it? The project in Stoughton is very impressive. So
Great, well, thanks so much.
Thank you very much
It was
for
a
coming.
pleasure being here.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Okay.
Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Yes, feel free to reach out. I'm always available. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks again.
Sure.
My glasses on. 7, thank you, is report from the department. Lorraine, is that you? Are you on?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have a lot of housing projects underway. One being tomorrow in front of the Council on Finance is the final draft of the housing plan. So it was approved by CETA to move forward, and we're excited to finalize the plan tomorrow. So we'll keep posted on that. The other projects that we're working on is Efficiency Navigator. So we had the press conference with Madison, and that went really well, was well attended. And we have started to open up applications for the program, for the renewal of that program. So it was opened on March 23rd, and applications will be prioritized for May 1st. So right now we have 6 applications already. So they're kind of vetting those applications, and definitely, if you know of any property owners, please encourage them to apply to this program. Right on the Sustain Dane website, they have it in both English and Spanish. So we're excited about that program moving forward. And the first project that they'll plan to work on is windows, because that's a much needed project for a lot of our NOAA projects. Some other projects working on is we were awarded a pro-housing grant last year for $500,000 or $600,000 for infrastructure. So working with CDBG right now, we're kind of formulating a timeline. It has to be completed by 2030. So we're setting the timeline right now and then looking to do a contract with them. So one of the things that internally as staff, we're working on the type of housing that we would like to see. So definitely any ideas that you have for this would be greatly appreciated. So kind of keep you posted on the next steps on that. And down payment assistance program, working on that, working on the RFP process for that. Also, staff is working kind of internally the parameters of that RFP, and hopefully we'll kind of get that wrapped up and out maybe in the mid of the summer of this year. And yeah, those are kind of the major projects that we're working on for housing. Any questions?
Will the DPA program RFP come before the committee, before it's finalized?
Yes. All right, and Mike, did you have anything to share?
Sure. Yeah, we need to vet some things internally with administration, finance, and legal, and just ask some questions, and then we'll bring some information forward to this group to take a look at that. And then we also participated in the residential TID bill signing ceremony at the governor's office. That was last week, Wednesday, I think. We were there for that, so that was neat to see get signed. And something else in our our toolkit now for housing, which is important. And then a couple of other things that are happening in the city. Our planning colleagues interviewed multiple firms for the comp plan update and zoning code rewrite. We got some really good quality proposals and firms. So they're in the process of narrowing that down to select a firm that could hopefully take us through both of those exercises collectively there. So that'll be kind of an 18-month process to go through. Then Forward Fitchburg, we're going to be having 4 roundtables as part of that update to our economic development strategic plan. We're working with Vanderwall on that. And the roundtables are going to focus on centers and identity, which is basically Fitchburg, what are the commercial areas in Fitchburg and how do we create thriving, viable kind of commercial areas along probably all 3 of our north-south corridors. So we're going to be convening a group to have a conversation about that. Then there's going to be one on innovation economy and kind of the new emerging science and technologies, things like fusion, and how does Fitchburg position itself for those emerging industries. The third one is going to be, and this actually came from Steve Leverance at Promega, to really think about AI and how do we as a community kind of position ourselves, not only us as a city, but also working with our private sector partners, and how is that incorporated even and ingrained in the updated Forward Fitchburg plan. So we're going to get a lot of smart people together on that one to learn all about AI and how that could be beneficial. And then the fourth one is going to be a developers roundtable that we've been talking about having, where we're going to bring together the development community to get a pulse check from them on what's working well in Fitchburg, where there may be still some systems and processes enhancements that we can make in addition to the ones we've already made. And then we want to talk to them about, specifically for kind of mixed use projects, how do we create projects that can get financed, underwritten, and are successful in the marketplace. And again, getting our brokerage community, businesses, contractors, construction companies, real estate, corporate attorneys and stuff like that to get their perspective on how do we as Fitchburg position ourselves working with our private sector colleagues to drive more of those types of projects in the neighborhoods that we're looking for, but to position them to be successful in our community. So we're anxious to do all 4. We're working with Vanderwall to coordinate some dates for those. They'll probably be the second half of May, and the developer one might be in June there, but we'll keep you posted as we make progress on those. And then a couple of TID things. We're going to be looking to amend TID number 17, which is over there at Jamestown Quarry across from Super Target. That's for the retail center over there, so we'll be working with our council to bring that forward. And then...
Can I ask on that quick?
Sure.
What does that look like right now in terms of, you're talking about the top of the hill, the quarry property?
Yeah, north of Super Target.
Yes. Going in for sure there now? And
sure, yeah.
This is off topic.
Sure, no. Right across the front at Fitrona and McKee Road, there'll be a Chase Bank, a Chick-fil-A, a Crew Car Wash, and a McDonald's. Okay. There. In the middle, there will be a retail center that will have 4 retail tenants, and then a quick service, quick casual kind of restaurant. Am I on? Are you loud enough here? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay. And then on the northern third, Corey Frank, who has the apartment building currently under construction that's starting to take occupancy, is going to do a second building there of another approximately 270 units.
Modeled on the first one, I
yep.
assume.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we're excited to see that come forward. We're going to be participating on some of the extraordinary costs for the reclamation of the quarry site there. There's some excess soil that needs to be trucked off. There's undergrounding of stormwater that's needed there, and then also a retaining wall. And by participating in that, it makes the project viable.
What's the, if I can, what's the egress and I mean, how does that look up there? Because the top of the hill's got a lot going on there.
Yeah, I can send out a map to this group so you can see the site plan and everything for it. Right now, we're going to be amending TID 17, which stops at KPEC right now by the the land that the school owns. So we're going to be going through what we call the infield, which is the Wingra plant that's there, and then going over to that larger parcel north of the 4 users across the front. We're not bringing in the 4 users across the front in the TID district there, but we have to have, the parcels need to be contiguous, so that's how we're kind of mapping it out. That doesn't mean that the Wingra plant is going away. That will be remaining there for a long time to come yet, but that allows us to get over to the retail center, and then we're also bringing in the second apartment building, not the first one, for it.
Thank you.
Then another big project that we think we've come to terms on is syncopation. That's the one that is on the Cleanfill site between Highway 14 and MM on the Fawside property, so north of Lacey Road there. So they're proposing 2 multifamily buildings of approximately 320 units. We've got a senior continuum of living and care group, Trilogy, out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, about 119 units. That would bring us independent, assisted living, memory care, and then even skilled nursing care. So it's got that whole continuum. Then there will be about 40 townhome ownership product units, and then approximately 35 to 40 single-family lots on that site. So we'll be bringing forward their TIF request, hopefully with a referral on April 28th, and then that'll wind its way through council. This is our 3rd attempt at that site, so we're hoping that this one gets the deal done, and they start the reclamation on that site going forward. Then Bowman Plaza, you might see some activity up there with our fire department and police department. They're doing some training in the existing Bowman Plaza building, and thanks to Ragtag Ventures that they partnered with our police and fire to do some worthwhile training up there. But that building will probably start to be demolished, I think, in May of this year. So we're looking forward to getting that project started, and you might see some really good activity up there with the church expansion. Right now that bumps out their kind of pre-function space out to Fish Hatchery Road. So some good stuff happening in that corridor as well.
In the new development there, comes up to the street, right?
Bowman Plaza will be right up to the street.
Interesting.
Yeah, and there'll be 12,000 square feet of commercial space on the first floor, and then 270 market rate apartments, 7 stories, 5 over 2, takes 2 floors of underground and structured parking to accommodate that.
Thank you.
And then working with JT Klein, now I'm on Nesbitt Road, the lot north of Gymfinity Gymnastics on the west side of Nesbitt Road across from Quivy's Grove over there. They've decided just to proceed with the affordable senior component of that project at this point in time. They were also looking at doing a market rate, but right now with the tax credits that they've got from LIHTC, and then they received about $8 million in financing from Dane County, they're going to proceed with the affordable and kind of wait on the market rate at this point in time to see where construction costs and interest rates go. So we won't be amending TID number 18 at this point in time because the Ellers analysis indicated they didn't need any TIF assistance for the senior affordable, but that'll get us 80 affordable senior units on the west side of the city, which is geographically an area that we needed some affordable units, that area. And then lastly, our Spring Hill Suites, keep your fingers crossed, should be opening this week. I think they are just waiting on the final inspection by Marriott there, and once they get the sign off on that, then they'll be able to open their doors. So we're anxious to see that come online with our hotel room inventory. I think that covers everything. Any questions?
I've got one. What's going on the corner of Lacey and Seminole?
Lacey and Seminole. Yeah, in the northwest corner there.
Northwest
That's
corner.
the Newcomb project. I should have mentioned that one as well. And they'll be starting on the first of their 5 buildings. I think they have there, about 303 units there. But they'll be doing the southernmost building first, closer to Lacey and the roundabout. Yeah.
Couple of questions. Going back to the pro-housing grant, you said that it must be completed by 2030. Does that mean the infrastructure must be completed by 2030, or the housing project as a whole has to be completed by 2030?
As a whole, it needs to be completed.
Okay. And then Oh, with the residential TID bill, when are we going to be able to learn more about how that would work? Because I feel like this is a pretty big deal, and I haven't seen, I'm like eager to have a webinar or somebody to tell me how this is going to work, and wondering if you have any thoughts there.
Sure. One thing we talked about when we were at the bill signing last week, there was somebody there from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities who led the effort for that. And I had mentioned to them our developer roundtable, and that might be an element of our developer roundtable, just to kind of provide a preview and information on how that tool would work for us.
So have any other states done this before?
I'm not sure.
Because I just wonder if we should start Googling and just see who's experienced it and what their experience has been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't done any research on that at this point. Yeah.
It's exciting.
I just have a question on the housing, the state housing legislation. They made some updates to the infrastructure access, vacancy to vitality, and the Main Street program, I believe. I thought they were also considering a TID extension from 1 year to 2 years. Does anybody have an update on that bill? Yeah.
I think I read that passed, but I'm not sure.
You did, Joyce?
Yeah, I think I read that in one of maybe the Wisconsin Biz, but I'm not sure. I'll double check for you. But I think that one did pass too.
And just so, okay.
I think what
just so everyone knows.
I think what you're referring to is the WIDA programs, because each of those three were all WIDA loan programs that you mentioned, and they've changed their
No, those were all
requirements for Main
updated
Street.
with various details.
Yeah.
Right. No, I'm talking about something else.
Oh, because WIDA has the exact same
talking about
programs that
something
you
else.
have. Okay.
No. So WIDA, on the state level, WIDA updated various criteria in those three different programs. And then there was a bill to create a residential TID where folks could go over their 12% cap. And there was another one that says the TID extension funds that, municipalities can take advantage of by closing their TID and keeping it open for a year, we're going to extend that to 2 years. And I'm wondering if anybody's heard about the extension to 2 years, if that passed. And Joyce said she thinks she did. I read a news release from Wisconsin municipalities last week, and I didn't see that one in there, so I just didn't know if it had passed. Yeah.
I can do some research and then send it on to the group if I find anything.
There's an Ellers post recap that talks about affordable housing extension expanded. I can send this out to the committee. And Ellers is one of the organizations that we partner with pretty regularly, so I trust them as a source.
That would be great. Could you send that out? Thanks.
So anything else, Lorraine, that you can think of? No, we're good? Awesome. All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you for attending, everybody. Good to see you, Olivia.
Thank you.